We're less than 24 hours now away from one of the biggest cards in Bellator history. We've got a main event featuring the Bellator Heavyweight World Grand Prix and a welterweight title fight to boot in the co-main event. And who better to discuss one of Bellator's big fight cards with than the champ herself, Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. Ilima, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm Marc Raimondi from MMAfighting.com, and this is going to be our preview show for Bellator 192. Of course, in the main event, we have two big fellas, much larger than women's flyweight. I would say Rampage Jackson against Chael Sonnens. How do you break down this fight? Rampage Jackson came in; it's the biggest he's ever been for a fight. He's 253 pounds. Chael Sonnens has fought just about his entire career at middleweight, so it's almost like a middleweight versus a heavyweight. How do you break down a fight like that?
Honestly, I have Rampage just because you could see the clear size difference when they faced off. And, you know, Rampage, I mean, he's an athletic dude. So even though he's a lot bigger and everything, he's still athletic. So I think, when it comes down to it, I think he's just going to kind of overpower Sonnens.
You were here for the weigh-ins that happened just a few minutes ago, and Rampage was wearing some interesting clothes. Yep. Were you a fan of the gold trunks?
I was. I'm not a fan of when fighters take their time getting undressed. It's like, okay, let's go. But when he revealed the gold pants, and I'm like, got him. So yeah, I was a big fan.
So at first you weren't into it, but then
I was like, what the hell? And then when I saw it, I was like, okay, he had a point. Good job. Good job.
But you're picking Rampage, and as someone who has followed the sport for a long time, were you a fan of Rampage going back, years? Obviously, UFC former light heavyweight champion.
So truth be told, I actually did not watch MMA until I started fighting.
Swerve.
Yeah. So I'm like that's why I always say I'm the worst MMA fan, because people ask me all the time about previous fights, and I'm just like, I have no idea. So yeah, I've only been watching for a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years. So I would be lying if I was like, yeah, I saw his old fights.
Well, we do appreciate your honesty, Ilima. Do you think Chael Sonnens is really one of the better wrestlers in the history of MMA? Could his technical wrestling in any way nullify Rampage's sheer size, do you think?
I don't think so. Especially when I saw him fight Tito a year ago.
Right.
Tito overpowered him. And, yeah, Tito's a wrestler as well, but I just thought that he overpowered Sonnens. So I think that it's kind of going to go the same way.
Fair enough. The co-main event is an amazing welterweight title fight between Douglas Lima, the champion, and Rory McDonald, former UFC multiple-time title challenger. Quick question for you. Last week it was announced that the main event would be changing. It was originally going to be Rory versus Lima in the main event, and now it's going to be Rampage versus Chael Sonnens. Did that surprise you? Do you agree with that change?
I mean, I saw a lot of fans were disappointed with that. They thought that Lima McDonald should have been the main event, but I'm not one of those fighters who really get upset about stuff like that. It's like, it's still co-main event, so it's not like they're getting bumped down to nothing, So, I mean, it's a big deal. This heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, it's a really big deal. So, I think it made sense. And yeah, I mean, the fighters seem to be okay with it. So, whatever's. It's just the fans that were all what?
Yeah, fans. The actual fight itself, an amazing fight. Two of the best welterweights in the world. How do you see that playing out?
Rory is super well-rounded. He's good everywhere, and Lima has super heavy hands. I'm probably going for Lima just because our names are so similar, and this is also his belt. So but I think it's gonna be a slugfest. That's what I imagine it.
Is this the fight that you're most excited about on the card?
No, there's actually another fight that I'm most excited about.
Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit. As far as the co-main event fight and how it breaks down, do you feel like the winner of that fight could make a case for being the best welterweight in the world? Because I know sometimes you guys at Bellator kind of get criticized by fans that it's maybe not always the best pound-for-pound fighters, that the UFC has the best pound-for-pound. Do you think this fight could kind of change that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that reminds me of, when Mousasi came over and fought, and everybody thinks that, oh yeah, Bellator doesn't have the best pound for pound and he's going to get an easy fight or whatever, but that was not an easy fight by any means, So I think our fighters here are super highly competitive, and I do think that tomorrow, they could arguably be the best pound for pound welterweight, or best welterweight, whoever wins tomorrow.
No, that works. Pound for pound welterweight is fine. 170, 171, There are 2 pounds there. You touched on that is not your favorite fight on the card because your teammate is on this card. Can you just explain? He's fighting, Shane Kruchten is fighting Aaron Pico. You're a little biased.
Yes,
a little biased.
I am. Well, and also that's actually not my favorite fight. So we'll get. It's still not my favorite fight on the card. But no, go Crutch. I love you. But yeah, that's my teammate Shane Kruchten. He's Marine, Purple Heart. He has an incredible backstory. He also used to be fat like me. I have pictures of his fat days in my phone. So if anyone wants to see them, I'll probably post them on Instagram. But yeah, he's an awesome teammate. He's always there for my camps. He had a really good camp too. Shane is actually a really awkward fighter. A lot of people think that Pico, with his athletic ability, his wrestling background, everything, even his boxing, he knocked out his last opponent. A lot of people think Pico, or I think Crutch is the underdog for this fight. But what they don't know is that Shane is super experienced. I don't even know how many fights he has, but he has a ton of fights, and he has a very weird style that's kind of hard to figure out. So I think that might frustrate Pico once he gets in there with him.
So you're hitting us with a bunch of swerves. What is your favorite fight on this card?
Okay, so I'm super looking forward to the Goiti Yamauchi versus Michael Chandler fight. I believe that's the third fight on the main card. It's the third fight on the main card, and I have a huge crush on Goiti. I've just been really into Asians lately, and I know he's Asian Brazilian or whatever, Japanese Brazilian. But yeah, so Goiti, I'm rooting for you.
The MMAfighting.com/match.com preview show for Bellator 182. Do you think Chandler is a longtime Bellator guy? I mean, he's been with Bellator since I think 2011. He fought on Fox Sports Net. He fought on MTV2. He fought on Spike, and now he's fighting on Paramount. I know that you may be rooting for Goiti in this fight, but as a Bellator champion, there's that respect for Michael Chandler, right?
Of course, and I really like Michael Chandler. He's a great guy. We've worked together before, and I think he's an amazing fighter. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very competitive fight, especially with Goiti's jiu-jitsu background. His jiu-jitsu game is so sick. His submissions are really slick. So, but Michael Chandler is just an amazing athlete, explosive, has heavy hands. You don't really get to see too much of Goiti's stand-up because all of his wins pretty much come by way of submission. So I'm not too sure how his stand-up is really. So I think it's going to be. I actually predict that it's either going to be over in the first round. I think it's going to be over in the first round, either by Chandler knocking him out. Please don't. But or Goiti getting the submission.
Fair enough. Last thing on this card, I just want to go real quick and get your predictions for the main card. All right?
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. No biases.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Rampage versus Sonnens.
Rampage.
I'm gonna throw in now. I'll go in order.
Okay.
Rory McDonald versus Douglas Lima.
Lima.
Chandler versus Yamauchi.
Chandler.
Corrales versus Canyon.
That's a tough one. Oh, man. I love you, Georgie, but I think Corrales.
Your teammate Shane versus Aaron Pico.
Shane.
How to say that. Okay, now I also wanted to ask you a couple of things about you. You were in Hawaii last week. You were home. That's where you're from.
Yep.
And everyone got this message on their phone saying what? Explain to people what exactly came onto your phone that day.
Yep. So it was 8 in the morning, or actually it was 8:07, and I had just gotten back from an outer island that I was visiting, which I didn't sleep at all, which I'll tell you after this. It's in my next story. And so I'm totally passed out. I finally get to sleep, and then my phone starts going off, and I look at it, and it said, ballistic missile inbound. Seek shelter immediately. This is not a drill. And we're just like, what the fuck? And so my dad gets up. Me and my dad were the only ones that were home. And so, of course, all my siblings, they start calling my dad, and they're all freaking out. They're crying. And I'm kind of still, I'm just like, I don't know how I felt. I think I was still delirious, and I was just like, stop freaking out, guys. It's probably fine. Like, we'll be okay. But then when I started hearing the panic in their voice, they're like, close all the windows. Stay away from the windows. The chemicals. I'm just like, oh, gosh. So then I just was like, all right, well, I'll start helping my dad. So we go around the house, and I have a really open house, right? There's tons of windows and doors. And so we start closing all the louvers, all the jalousies, but there's missing louvers in every single window, you know. So I'm like, this is not going to do anything if a missile actually hits us. And then we also have single wall construction, so I'm like, we're totally blown up. So might as well just go hang out. So we just went into my dad's room, and we're just hanging out on the bed, like waiting and saying our goodbyes, doing our calls and everything. And it was weird. Like, I was mentally prepared. I was like,
You thought it was it?
I was like, Dad, you know, me and you, we lived really good lives. You know, he's in his 70s, and I'm like, for a 27-year-old, I feel like I've lived a pretty fulfilling life, so I'm okay dying.
And you just found out you had a new uncle that you didn't even know about just recently, too.
Yeah, and they're like way more famous than me. It's crazy. They are doing interviews with CNN. They're actually flying up to be on the Steve Harvey show on Monday. So they're going to come to the fights because they're flying up tonight.
And you read all about that on MMAfighting.com as well. Alexander Kaylee's story from last week about that. And you had another story. Now,
oh my gosh,
also, I want to set this up. This is not Ilima's belt. This is Douglas Lima's belt, so it's close enough.
One of the
but
Limas, yeah.
One of the Limas. What happened to your actual belt?
Oh, okay. So I was on an outer island, Kauai, for a sponsor photo shoot. It's my poi company, Olahoina Poi Company. So I'm doing a photo shoot with them in the Lo'i, which is like a taro farm. It's like aquaponics and everything. And we're kind of joking too, because they're like, make sure you don't drop it, you know, into the water. Like, what's the worst that can happen, bruh? And then we end up going out that night to go sing karaoke, because I love karaoke. And
Of course.
So they take me out karaoke, and we come back, and the entire house that we were staying at was on fire, and everything of ours was inside, including my belt.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. We still don't know what started the fire or how it happened, and it was just kind of gnarly. And the firefighters, it was so funny. So they came right after, and a couple of them followed me. So they're like, was your belt in there? I was like, yeah, it's right. I pointed them in the direction. So in the morning, they actually found it because there was still some like diamonds or cubic zirconia, whatever. They found it because they saw the diamonds on it. And so they're like, okay, well, we found your belt. So I took a picture of it. I posted it on my Instagram. I also took a video of the fire because I wanted to show Bellator proof, like, hey, guys, I swear I didn't do it, but my belt's burning. So, yeah, this is not my belt. It's Lima's.
Are they getting a new belt? Is Bellator going to hook you up?
I don't know, honestly. We haven't really talked about it. They didn't really give me a definitive answer when I asked, which I'm cool. It's fine, you know. It's totally not a big deal for me. I guess I'll just have to defend it, and maybe they'll give me one if I win.
And speaking of that, if you win, what is next? Do you have any plans? Is there an opponent? Is there a date? What is going on next for you?
So right now I'm probably going to fight Valerie Letourneau. She won her pro debut, or not her pro debut, her promotional debut. She won it like last month or so, against Kate Jackson. So, you know, she kind of just makes the most sense as far as experience and, you know, talent level wise. She is a veteran. She's a former UFC fighter, fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the belt, went all 5 rounds with Joanna. Mm-hmm. You know, so she's totally legit, and we're actually really cool. She messaged me after her fight because they asked her on the mic, like, all right, what's next? And then she called me out. So she messaged me, and she's like, I was not trash talking. I'm sorry. I hope you didn't offend you, or whatever. And I was like, no, it's fine. She's so adorable. So yeah, we were messaging each other. We're like, all right, let's do it. Let's make it happen. It's probably going to be the nicest fight in history because she's just so sweet. And
she's Canadian, so.
Yeah, she's Canadian. And I'm looking to try and fight in April, ideally. There's a big card in Chicago, Fedor versus Frank Mir. They're headlining it. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a pretty cool card to fight on.
I feel like you need like a reality show or something.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
More stories.
Okay. So I want my own dating show, and it's going to be called Fight for Love. And it's going to be like The Bachelorette meets The Ultimate Fighter, right? And so I'm going to be, obviously, The Bachelorette, and I'm also going to be the matchmaker. It's going to be a house full of fighters, and I get to match them up, and, you know, winner moves on, whatever. And then at the very end of the season, for the finale, whoever wins, it's going to be like, will you accept this belt? It's going to be a belt ceremony.
You shouldn't be giving this away to all of our viewers. You're giving away the gold right now.
I know. I might have already signed a non-disclosure agreement with somebody. Wait, can't remember. I don't think he's gonna see this. Well, and then, but here's the twist. At the end,
She's still going, ladies and gentlemen.
when I choose the winner, they have to choose between me or a contract with Bellator. So I got to pitch this. I got to pitch this Paramount.
So this is you. This is not for anyone. This is actually you as the person.
Yes, Bachelorette. Yes.
Bachelorette.
Yes.
Can't call that though, because that's already probably been trademarked.
Yeah, you're right. I got to think of a clever name for me. Yeah. So that's my plan. I'm gonna try to get my own.
The Bachelorette.
Bachelorette. Yeah.
That's probably pretty lame.
The Bellatorette. Yeah.
We'll work on that. Well, I think this has been pretty informative and entertaining preview show. One of the best ever, I would say, probably in MMAfighting.com Bellator history. I guess we'll wrap it up here. We don't want Ilima giving away any more ideas of hers that may soon be on a network television.
Sorry, dude. I hope I'm legally allowed to say that.
I guess we'll find out from our lawyers later. For Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, I'm Marc Raimondi for MMAfighting.com. We'll see you guys tomorrow for more coverage of Bellator 192.